Hey, I just want to say something and I need you to really hear this. In this life, we rush past so many things, so many moments, so many people, and sometimes something rare shows up right in front of you. Something real. That's what this is. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to play games. I'm just here, standing in front of you, being honest, because I think you deserve that. What I'm offering you, it's not perfect, but it's genuine, it's real. And real things, they don't come around that often. So please don't miss this. In this life, we rush past so many things, so many moments, so many people. And sometimes something rare shows up right in front of you, something real, something that makes you stop, not because you're forced to, but because some quiet part of you finally recognizes it. That still small voice inside you that rarely speaks up, it speaks now. And it says, pay attention. This matters. I've been thinking about how to say this for a long time, actually, because some things, they don't deserve to be rushed. They don't deserve to be handed over carelessly, wrapped in the wrong words, delivered at the wrong moment. Some things deserve patience. They deserve the right silence before the right words. And this is one of those things. So I'm asking you, before anything else, just be here right now with me. Not thinking about yesterday, not worried about tomorrow, just here. Because what I'm about to offer you only makes sense in the present. It only lives in this moment, in this honesty, in this space between us, where nothing is performed and nothing is hidden. I'm not standing here because I have to. I'm standing here because I want to. Because something in me, something I can't fully explain, and honestly stopped trying to explain, keeps pointing me in your direction. Like a compass that doesn't care about north anymore, it just points to you. And I've learned over time that when something in you points that clearly, that consistently, you don't argue with it, you follow it, you show up. And that's what I'm doing. I'm showing up, and I know that vulnerability is a strange thing. It makes people uncomfortable. It makes people want to deflect with humor or change the subject or suddenly find something very interesting to look at across the room. I get that. I've done that, but not today. Today, I'm choosing to stand in it, in this open, uncomfortable, completely honest place. Because you're worth that. Because this is worth that. There's something I've noticed about people who've experienced real loss, real pain, real disappointment in love. They build these walls, not because they're cold. Actually, it's the opposite. They build walls because they felt too much, because they were open once and the world walked through that openness and left damage behind. And so they learn to protect themselves. They learn to be careful. They learn to wait and watch and second guess and hold back. And I understand that. I truly do. I'm not asking you to tear down anything overnight. I'm not asking you to be reckless with yourself on my behalf. What I'm asking is just a door, just one door, slightly open, just enough for light to get through. Because light doesn't need much space, light finds a way. What I'm offering you isn't the fantasy version of love that gets sold to us in every song, in every movie, in every story we were told growing up. It isn't the version where everything is effortless and perfect and nobody ever says the wrong thing or has a bad day or carries old wounds into new spaces. That version doesn't exist. And honestly, I don't want it. Because that version doesn't require anything real from either person. It's just a beautiful illusion. And illusions, no matter how beautiful, eventually dissolve in the light of real life. What I'm offering you is the real thing. The version that shows up. The version that stays when staying is hard. The version that says, I see you. Not just the parts you're proud of. Not just the parts you've carefully curated for the world to see, but all of it. The doubts and the scars and the strange habits and the 3 a.m. thoughts you haven't told anyone. I'm offering you the kind of presence that doesn't flinch at those things, that actually leans in closer when they appear. Because here's what I believe, and I believe it completely. The most beautiful thing about a person is never the surface. It's never the polished, composed, everything is fine version they show the world. The most beautiful thing is what's underneath all that. The rawness, the realness, the humanity of it. The fact that behind every perfectly constructed exterior is a person who is trying, who is uncertain sometimes, who has been hurt before and healed imperfectly, and is still somehow standing, still somehow hoping, still somehow open to the idea that something good might come. That's the person I want to know. That's the person I'm talking to right now. And I want you to know that I don't take lightly what I'm asking of you. Trust is not a small thing. Opening yourself to another person, really opening, not just performing openness, but actually allowing someone to matter to you, that's an act of tremendous courage. Especially if you've been let down before, especially if you've done the trusting and the hoping and the believing and had it not work out. I know what that costs. I know the arithmetic of that kind of loss, how it doesn't just subtract, it changes the way you add. It makes you more cautious with your numbers, more careful about what you invest in and where. But I also know this, and I need you to hear this clearly. Choosing never to invest again because an investment once failed, that's not protection. That's just a different kind of loss, a slower one, the kind that doesn't announce itself, but quietly takes everything anyway. And you deserve more than that. You deserve the full experience of being alive. And being alive means allowing things to matter. It means allowing people to matter. I'm not asking you to be naive. I'm not asking you to abandon your instincts or ignore your experience or pretend that history doesn't exist. Your history made you who you are, and who you are is exactly the person I'm standing here talking to, so I have nothing but respect for every single chapter that came before this one. What I'm asking is just this: let there be a next chapter. Let this be a page that gets written, because the story isn't finished. And the best chapters, they're often the ones that surprised you, the ones you almost didn't let happen. I think about all the moments in life that changed everything, and how most of them didn't announce themselves. They didn't arrive with fanfare or warning. They showed up quietly, looking ordinary, looking like just another Tuesday. And if you weren't paying attention, if you were too busy protecting yourself or moving too fast or too caught up in the noise, you could have missed them entirely. And the tragedy of that isn't just losing the moment. The tragedy is never knowing what that moment could have been, never knowing what life might have looked like had you just paused, had you just said yes. This is me asking you to pause. This is me asking you to say yes. Not to something unknown and frightening, but to something honest and patient and real, to someone who is standing here with nothing hidden, nothing performed, nothing designed to impress or manipulate or convince. Just truth, just sincerity, just the straightforward, unglamorous, quietly powerful fact that you matter to me. And I think that matters. There are people in this world who will offer you excitement without depth, attention without intention, presence without commitment. They'll be dazzling for a season and then they'll be gone. And you'll be left sorting through the wreckage of something that looked like love but never actually was. I am not that. I have no interest in being that. What I'm offering is slower and quieter and less immediately spectacular, but it is deep. It is real. It is the kind of thing that if you let it, becomes the foundation you didn't know you were missing, the steady ground under everything else. And I know that slow and quiet doesn't always win the competition for attention in a world that rewards the loud and the flashy. I know that patience doesn't make headlines, but I also know from everything I've seen, everything I have lived, that the things worth having are almost never the things that shout. They're the things that wait. They're the things that remain after the noise dies down. They're the things that are still there on an ordinary Wednesday morning when the world isn't watching and nothing is performing and it's just two people and the simple, profound truth of being present for each other. That's what I'm offering you, and I meant what I said at the beginning. Don't miss this. There's something I need to say to you, and I need you to really sit with it, not just hear it and move on, but actually let it land somewhere inside you where the truth lives. I chose you. Not because I had to, not because the timing was convenient, or because you were simply there when I was lonely, or because some checklist got completed in my head. I chose you the way you choose something when every part of you, the logical part, the intuitive part, the part that's been burned before and knows better than to be careless, all of it points in the same direction, quietly, clearly, without drama. That kind of choosing doesn't happen often. Most people go their entire lives and never experience it even once. I'm not taking it lightly, I hope you won't either. Because here's the thing about recognition, real recognition, the kind I'm talking about, it doesn't feel like a lightning bolt. That's the myth. That's the story we were sold. The dramatic moment, the music, the sudden overwhelming certainty that arrives like a storm. Maybe that happens for some people, but what I've come to understand through everything I've lived and lost and learned is that the deepest recognition is quieter than that. It's more like a settling, like something inside you that was slightly off balance for years finally finds its level. Like a sound you didn't know was missing suddenly fills a silence you had gotten so used to that you stopped noticing it. That's how it felt. That's how it feels. Recognizing you wasn't a moment of noise, it was a moment of peace. And I want to be clear about what I mean when I say I choose you out of recognition, not out of need, because that distinction matters more than almost anything else I could tell you. Need is a fragile thing to build on. Need means I'm incomplete without you, that I require you to function, that some hollow place inside me is reaching outward and hoping you'll fill it. That kind of love, and I use that word loosely when describing it, is really just two people using each other to avoid themselves. It feels intense at the beginning because intensity is what need produces. But intensity without foundation doesn't last. It burns bright and then it burns through, and what's left on the other side is not warmth, it's ash. What I'm describing is different. I am a whole person. I have my own life, my own sense of self, my own relationship with who I am and what I believe and where I'm going. I don't need you to complete me because I'm not broken. I'm not standing here with a missing piece, hoping you'll be the thing that finally makes me make sense. I'm standing here as someone who is already complete and who sees someone equally complete standing across from me and who thinks that two whole people choosing each other freely, clearly, without desperation or dependency is one of the most extraordinary things that can happen in a human life. That's what this is. That's what I'm offering. I see you. Not the version of you that you present when you're trying to be impressive, not the version that shows up when you're performing confidence or composure or certainty. I see the version underneath all of that, the one that thinks too deeply sometimes and feels too much and carries things quietly because somewhere along the way you learned that carrying things quietly was safer than setting them down in front of someone and hoping they wouldn't walk away. I see the version that has questions it hasn't asked out loud and hopes it hasn't fully articulated even to itself. I see the version that is beneath everything, just a person, profound and ordinary at the same time, the way all genuinely remarkable people are, and I chose that version. All of it, not in spite of the complicated parts, but including them, because the complicated parts are not flaws in you. They're evidence of depth. They're proof that you've lived something real, that you've engaged with the world fully enough to be shaped by it. The places in you that feel like wounds to you, the places you try to keep hidden because you're afraid they'll make you less appealing, less lovable, less worthy of the kind of care you quietly and completely deserve, those places are not liabilities. To me, they are part of what makes you undeniably, irreplaceably you. I've been around people who love the idea of a person, who fall in love with a projection, with a possibility, with the version of someone they've constructed in their own imagination and then overlaid onto a real human being who is never quite that thing. That kind of love has a built-in expiration date because the real person always eventually shows through. The real person with their real quirks and real inconsistencies and real moments of being tired or uncertain or less than their best. They always emerge, and if the love was only ever for the projection, it doesn't survive the emergence. It can't. It was never built for reality. I'm not interested in your projection. I'm not interested in the curated version or the highlight reel or the face you put on when you want the world to think you have everything together. I'm interested in you, the actual full, three-dimensional, sometimes contradictory, always genuine you. The you that exists at 3 in the morning when the defenses are down and the noise of the day has finally faded, and it's just you with yourself and your thoughts and the truth of who you are without any performance attached to it. That's the person I chose. That's the person I keep choosing every time the choice presents itself. And I want you to understand something about the weight of that, about what it means to be truly seen and still chosen. Because I think sometimes we underestimate how rare that is. We talk about wanting to be loved for who we really are, but the truth is that most of us spend enormous amounts of energy making sure nobody ever gets close enough to see who we really are. Because being seen, really seen, is terrifying. It's the most vulnerable position a person can be in, to let someone look at you fully, without filters, without the careful management of perception, and to not know yet whether what they see will make them stay or go. That uncertainty is almost unbearable. But here's what I'm telling you clearly and without condition. I've looked not at the surface, not at the highlights, but into the actual heart of who you are, and I'm still here. I'm more here than I was before I looked, because what I found when I looked wasn't something that gave me pause or made me reconsider. What I found was something that made everything make more sense, something that made the choosing feel not just right, but inevitable. The way certain things, in retrospect, feel like they were always going to happen, like the story was always going to lead here, like all the roads of your life were always quietly bending in this direction. I chose you because of the way you think, the particular quality of your mind, the way it moves through ideas, the way it makes connections that other minds miss, the way it holds complexity without collapsing it into something simpler and easier, but ultimately less true. I chose you because of the way you feel things deeply, even when you're trying not to. Even when you've convinced yourself that caring less is the smarter strategy. I chose you because of the specific, unrepeatable way you exist in the world. The way you laugh when something genuinely surprises you. The way you get quiet when something genuinely moves you. The way you carry yourself with a kind of dignity that doesn't announce itself but is impossible to miss once you've seen it. I chose you because when I imagine the future, not the abstract hypothetical future, but the actual texture of daily life, the ordinary Tuesdays and unremarkable Sunday mornings, and the long stretches of time that aren't dramatic or cinematic but are simply the substance of a life being lived, I couldn't picture it without you in it. Not because I can't function alone, but because the version of that future that includes you is so clearly, so profoundly better that choosing anything else would feel like a deliberate diminishment, like turning down sunlight because you've gotten used to the dark. This is not impulsive. This is not something I arrived at quickly or carelessly. This is the conclusion of paying attention, real attention, the sustained and patient kind, to who you are and what you bring and what it feels like to be in your presence and what it feels like when you're not there. And the conclusion is this: you are someone worth choosing clearly, worth choosing fully, worth standing up and saying out loud in the most honest language I have. I see you, I know you, and I choose you. Not because I need you to survive, but because choosing you is one of the truest things I've ever done. Let me tell you something about love that stays. Not the kind that arrives with promises it never intended to keep. Not the kind that shows up beautifully in the beginning and then slowly, quietly begins to disappear. First in the small things, then in the medium things, then one day in everything. I'm talking about the other kind, the rarer kind. The kind that doesn't make the most noise in the room, but is somehow still there when every other noise has stopped. The kind that isn't defined by how it feels on the best days, but by what it does on the hardest ones. That is the love I'm talking about. That is the love I'm offering, and I need you to understand what that actually means. Not the romanticized version, not the version that gets written into songs and recited at weddings, but the real, lived, unglamorous, quietly magnificent truth of it. Real love that stays is not a feeling you fall into. That's where the confusion begins for most people. They experience that early rush, that extraordinary, disorienting, slightly euphoric sensation of newness and possibility, and someone occupying every corner of your mind, and they call it love. And they wait for it to last forever. And when it changes, as it always does, as it must, as it is biologically and emotionally designed to do, they think love has left. But that feeling was never love. That feeling was the doorway. Love is what you choose to build once you walk through it, and building something real, building something that lasts, requires a completely different set of qualities than falling does. Falling is passive. It happens to you. Building is active. It demands your presence, your intention, your willingness to keep showing up, even when showing up is inconvenient. Even when showing up means having the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Even when showing up means sitting with someone in their darkness instead of waiting at the edge of it for them to come back into the light.